All right, welcome to the Ironwood Gym. Today, we're going to go over the top 3 ways to improve your deadlift. If you haven't got a chance, check out my last 2 videos. One was the top 3 ways to improve your bench, and the second one was the top 3 ways to improve your squat. Check those out. If you have any comments, if you have any questions, please leave them, and I will definitely get back to you. But today, we're going to turn our focus to the deadlift. So starting with number 3. Number 3 is strengthen the low back. I don't care if you're a conventional puller or a sumo puller. It does not matter. You have to build and strengthen the low back. Your spinal erectors have to be very strong to have a good deadlift. In the squat video, I talked about training the torso, the traps, the lats, the obliques, and the abs. That is still of great significance to the deadlift, but this is only the top 3, and I cannot justifiably put those in the top 3 when I have to focus on the low back. The low back is the breaking point. Okay? If the low back starts to give out because it's not strong enough, number 1, you're not going to pull a lot of weight. Once that posture starts to round, you are decreasing the ability of your back to hold enough weight that you can move. It doesn't matter how strong your legs are. If your low back gives out, you're not going to be able to move the weight. And yes, I have seen people pull with rounded backs, as ugly as it is. They are still sacrificing how much they could do if they were able to keep their low backs locked in tight and in good position. They are sacrificing pounds off the bar, and probably quite a few pounds. The other point with the low back is injuries. The more your low back starts to lose posture, once you start to pull, you're in good position, you start to pull and that low back starts to round, you are significantly increasing the chance of injury. Can you pull with a rounded back and not get hurt? Yes, but I don't advise it because it's not a guarantee you will get hurt, but the chance of injury is going up quite significantly. If you've never had a low back injury, consider yourself fortunate. Any injury to the low back, even if it's a minor one, is almost debilitating. Okay, so set yourself up for success, set yourself up to stay injury-free, and set yourself up to handle more weight by strengthening the low back. This needs to be done through good exercises such as reverse hypers, back extensions or back raises or whatever you want to call them, and pull-throughs. Okay? These exercises tend to have a better carryover to your deadlift than some of the other ones out there. And they need to be trained heavy for what you can do for about 8 to 15 reps. Moving on to number 2, train the opposite. So what does that mean? Well, if you're a conventional deadlifter, and all the conventional pullers that are conventional deadlift purists out there are probably going to shoot me for this and rake me over the coals. But if you're a conventional deadlifter, learn how to pull sumo and start pulling sumo. It doesn't need to be your primary means of deadlifting, but I would probably replace about 30 to 50% of your conventional deadlift workouts with sumo workouts. And the same is true going the other direction. If you're a sumo deadlifter, start pulling conventional in training. Replace a significant number of your sumo deadlift workouts, about 30 to 50% of those workouts, with conventional deadlifting. This will go a long ways to building your deadlift. It will essentially strengthen the muscles that you need, that you're not getting efficiently strengthened through your primary means of pulling. So if you are a conventional puller, the sumo deadlift is going to help you build your hips, your glutes, maybe even hit your hamstrings in a little bit different way and allow you to pull more because it's going to strengthen those muscle groups by, in a way, training the movement, because the sumo deadlift is more similar to a conventional deadlift than a glute ham raise is to a conventional deadlift. And I'm not discounting glute ham raises. They are a fantastic exercise and should be a part of your program. But the sumo deadlift, technique-wise, will carry over to your conventional deadlift and strengthen those muscle groups that are lagging, or that you may not even realize are lagging, but it strengthens them in a more similar manner to deadlifting. The same is true for the conventional to improve the sumo. What is the conventional better at than the sumo? Definitely the low back, and possibly hitting the hamstrings through a little bit different movement pattern or whatever, but that is still deadlifting, and it will carry over to your sumo deadlift. I've heard this, I've seen it in myself, I've seen it happen with other lifters, and I've heard other lifters talk about how that has helped them. Train the opposite. And finally, number 1, going back to that acronym of LEAP. L-E-P-E. Technique. Focus on technique. Learn good technique. Sumo or conventional, doesn't matter. You have to learn how to pull the way that you want to be good at. Devote time to it, which moves right into the E. First you have learn good technique, then you have embrace good technique. You have to be fully committed to it. You can't try one technique out 1 week and 2 or 3 weeks later say you didn't like it. Not even 2 or 3 months. Stick with it. Stick with it for years, over time. Make yourself good at it. I'm going to go back to the L for just 1 second on this. There are different styles of pulling. Yes, you have sumo and you have conventional. But within those, you also have, should you leave your hips up higher and do more of a kind of a stiff leg where you're going to use a lot of low back, or should you drop your hips down so you're getting a lot more leg drive? You have to figure out what's going to be best for you based on how you built and where your strengths are. Once you figure that out, you want to find the proper technique for that style and then embrace that technique and fully commit to it. Moving on to the P, that's practice. And I've already said, you need to commit to it for a year. That means you need to be practicing it every single time that you step onto that platform, whether it's a deadlift platform or whether it's just on the outside of a rack or wherever you deadlift. Practice good technique. Don't sacrifice technique for more weight. That may come in a competition, but don't do it in training. That may come when you're going to test your lifts many years down the road and you just have to figure out a way to get it. But don't sacrifice that technique in training. Perfect, or as perfect as possible technique every time. And then, which I've already alluded to a little bit, comes execute. Execute good technique. That's the test day. That's the competition day when you're going to go out and actually perform. And you're going to perform with the technique that you've built up over the previous years of training. LEAP. Learn good technique, embrace good technique, practice good technique, and execute good technique. So those are the top 3 ways to build your deadlift. Going back through them, number 1, technique, applying the LEAP principle. Number 2, train the opposite. If you're a conventional puller, break down and go ahead and pull sumo. And pull heavy. If you're a sumo puller, pull conventional. Make it a significant part of your training. And number 3, strengthen and build the low back. Get it as strong as you possibly can. If you do those 3 things, your deadlift is going to go up. Yes, there are other things that you can focus on that will help your deadlift, but those are the 3 primary things that are going to help you build your deadlift. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. But until next time, always be in the pursuit of strength.